Hello students, welcome to the second video of electoral politics. Children, today we will be discussing as to what makes an election democratic. Here we will discuss about the conditions on the basis of which we can call any election democratic. Elections, as you know, is a way of choosing our representatives. Elections are held in many ways. All democratic countries hold elections, but most undemocratic countries also hold some kind of election. This is just a way of pretending that they are democracies. Now the question arises, how do we distinguish between democratic elections and non-democratic elections? Children, for that we have specific criteria which goes on to tell whether an election is democratic or not. So now we will see the minimum conditions for a democratic election. They are that everyone should be able to choose their own representatives. Now this means that everyone should have a choice as to whom they want to elect as their representatives. There should be no forced imposition as far as choice of representatives is concerned. Next, parties and candidates should be free to contest elections and should offer some real choice to the voters. Meaning, nobody should stop parties or candidates from contesting elections. And if we have many people who wish to contest elections, and there are various parties also in the fray, hence we as voters have a real choice as to who we wish to vote for and elect as our representatives. Next, the condition is that elections should be held regularly after every few years. Now this means that elections should not be held in an erratic manner. It should be held on a regular basis according to the law of the land, so that the voter has a choice after every few years to cast his vote for or against any candidate. Now the next condition that should be fulfilled is that candidates preferred by the people should get elected. This means that the candidate for whom people have voted should be declared elected. In this way, only we can respect the real will of the people. The other condition is that elections should be conducted in a free and fair manner. Meaning, the election should be devoid of any kind of foul play and malpractices, so as to ensure fair elections. Now this would reflect the real choice of the voter and hence make governments decide as to what is the mood of the voter and frame their policies accordingly. Now suppose if an election takes place and the point that is taken into consideration is that we have discussed right now, then it will be called a democratic election. And there are also many countries where these conditions are not fulfilled. Now, the next slide talks about whether it is good for the country if we have political competition. Well, as you know, elections are all about political competition. Even at the constituency level, it takes the form of competition among several candidates. You can see two political cartoons drawn on this slide. They feature in your book as well. The first one shows a politician with a bag full of promises. A promise, each depicted as a loaf of bread, is shown enticing the voter, who is portrayed as a dog following the promised bread and is shown salivating. Now, this shows that the voter is drawn towards the politician because of his promises. The other cartoon shows the voter as the king before the politician, and the politician is begging for his vote with all his promises of development and big declarations. Here, the voter is in the commanding situation because the voter has his right to vote, which the politician wants in his favor anyhow. Now, coming to the demerits of political competition. Now, political competition leads to factionalism in the society, where we see people of our locality divided on party lines, which is not a healthy sign for the society. We find political leaders leveling all sorts of allegations against each other. They stoop to the lowest level to get an extra advantage in elections. Such allegations often include character assassination and make people doubt the integrity of the person against whom the statements have been made. Now, all this is part of propaganda politics that is spread during elections. Next, the parties and candidates often use unfair means to win elections. They use things like money and muscle power to influence voters, which is a sad situation for democracy. Now, let's come to the merits of the system. Now, frequent electoral competition provides incentives to political parties and leaders. It gives them a chance to prove themselves before the voters. The parties know that if they address issues of public concern, they have a better chance of victory in next elections. Hence, to tilt the scales in their favor, they leave no incident which they feel they can encash upon for a public spectacle or to add up votes for themselves. Even if the only motive of a political party is attaining power, then too it has to serve the people. Hence, it is the people, that is the electorate, that is the voter, who will benefit out of political competition, because in an attempt to prove themselves better, the different political parties do some or the other good work which benefits the people. Now, children, we come to the next topic. What is our system of elections? As you know, in India, both Lok Sabha and Assembly elections are held after a period of 5 years. It is a fixed term after which elections are held again. Means the houses are dissolved and elections are conducted again to elect a new house altogether. Now, when elections are held in all constituencies, it is called a general election. The general election is held to elect the full house. Now, coming to the other type of election, this is called by-election. Now, what is by-election? It can be held in one or few constituencies to fill a vacant seat due to reasons of death or resignation by any sitting member. Now, in this chapter, we will focus on general elections. That is, the elections that are held to elect the full house